everybody. Welcome to another episode of Friends Talking Nerdy. This is Tim Jousman. With me, I've got the lovely...
My name is Kim.
All right. We are back here with another official episode here this week. Last week, I went solo.
Yeah, this is the holidays. It was a crazy week.
Yeah.
So much going on. So much food to eat.
Yeah.
You know how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, we came home with leftovers from her mother's place, and I thought that Kim already had some, so I had some, and then I ended up eating them all.
Yeah, my mom's a pretty good cook, isn't she?
Yeah, she is. But did you have a chance to hear the entire episode?
No, I did not have a chance to hear the entire episode.
Okay.
But what I heard, I liked.
Yeah. Even my sister liked it, of all things, you know. But
well, we like the kinder, gentler Tim, I guess. I know that you're kind and gentle, so that's all that matters, right? Yeah,
I have a soft spot, and
he
it's
does.
right here. No.
I just poked it.
No. All right.
So it's a holiday season, which means it's shopping time for those that are near and dear to our hearts. So I've been wrestling with my conscience lately because of Amazon. Because I know that their business practices are not great. And
they're shitty, to be honest.
They're very shitty. They treat their workers like crap. And it makes me feel bad that I take advantage of Amazon all the time. So I'm really conflicted. I'm like, because I personally, I don't go to Walmart for these same reasons. Because Walmart has basically gone in and destroyed a lot of mom and pop small business stuff. But the thing is with Amazon and with the life that we lead, working nights and everything, and they have these Amazon lockers, and it's entirely too convenient to get shopping done that I can't do on the weeks that I'm working because I'm always asleep during daylight hours. So I don't know what to do.
Well, I know we've discussed this before, of course, and you know, when you're in our financial bracket, there's not much, sadly, you can do. It's great that you can recognize the fact that these companies have these destructive habits, like Jeff Bezos with his new home that has 25 fucking bathrooms. I mean, unless he's going to have, a major taco night party to where he'll need all that extra space.
His entire family is going to be living in there.
Yeah, It's indicative of how corporate greed has really poisoned this country.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that I've been shopping at Amazon since they were started. Because they were a tiny little just a Seattle company before they became the behemoth that they are. And I've always appreciated the fact that I could find books that I wanted to read there. And I bought a Kindle back in 2011. And I do pretty much all my reading either on my Kindle or on the Kindle app now. That's how I buy my books. I get books from the library for Kindle. And so I'm so torn. I feel so guilty, but at the same time I'm like, but I love having my cat food delivered to the house so I don't have to go,
in public.
Yeah, especially when it's this time of year. I don't like going to the store this time of year. Everybody's all frantic and weird, and it's just stressful.
Well, again, it's, for our financial bracket, what can we do? I mean, I
don't know. That's the problem. It's torn. I mean,
really the only thing we can do, and I know we've discussed this before as well, is to make sure that during the high traffic seasons, like the Thanksgivings, like your Christmases, at that point, you want to make sure that, you're trying to find any other alternative to spend money through Amazon, but it's convenience, and people want to. It's tough to. It's not realistic all the time to follow your quote unquote morals or whatever. I mean, I am the first to recognize that Amazon, with their business practices, is a very destructive company. But if I try to go to other sources to replace everything I purchase through Amazon, it's going to cost me a lot more, and I really don't have that kind of money. That's the bind that these companies put you in, which, really all we have at our disposal, thanks to our financial bracket, to fix this is voting the right people into office to make sure that these companies are put in check.
Yeah, I just am disgusted by the fact that they don't pay their fair share of corporate taxes.
They don't pay any?
Yeah, exactly, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I mean, like you said, it is some of it's convenience, and a lot of it is cost. It's so much easier to go to one place, find everything that I need, and buy it all at once, and then have it where I'm living in like a couple of days.
It's like with comic books. On Amazon, every couple of weeks, Marvel has sales on their Epic collections. The Epic collections are collected stories of an entire storyline run, which you're looking at about 400 to 500 pages worth of comics that you can get for like $5 every couple of weeks.
Yeah, and I mean they have their daily deals for Kindle books too, which I go through all the time. I got an entire 5-book anthology of a Piers Anthony novel series that I haven't read yet for $3.
And you know, the comic, you know, I've brought this up on Twitter before with comic artists with the comic example, you know, because the Epic collections, if you went into an actual bookstore and bought them, you're looking at $30-$40 minimum, you know, to be able to buy it. But, you know, talking to some comic book artists and writers on Twitter about the Amazon deals, they encourage people to take advantage of it because they're still getting the same amount of money they would get if you bought it full price. So we're getting that deal. It's just that Amazon, you know, kind of like Walmart, is intentionally undercutting just so they can get your information and then, you know, do other things with it. So,
well, at least with regards to Walmart, a lot of people go there for groceries because it's cheap and it's 24 hours. We have alternatives here, which is good. And we do take advantage of those alternatives. I haven't been inside a Walmart in probably over a year or more, and the closest grocery store to where we live is one of those Walmart grocery stores.
Yeah.
So.
And I've been in that particular one a couple of times, and it's a garbage place.
It is. It's not great. They don't have a very good selection of stuff. It's ridiculous. So. And
it's a food desert as well, because
we do live in a food desert.
Yeah, it's and food desert. If people don't know that term, it's an area of a city or town that, while it may have stores that sell food, it's not healthy food at all. And if you're talking about a poor neighborhood with people that may not have cars, that may rely upon public transportation, that have limited incomes, they're not necessarily going to have the money to travel to the other side of town to a better grocery store to be able to buy the healthy stuff.
Yeah, or they, you know, there is a Fred Meyer somewhat close, but there's a gigantic hill in the way, and it's probably a good mile or more from that Walmart marketplace, which isn't realistic to expect people to walk that far. And there's buses and transportation and things like that, but still, yeah, the area where that Walmart is, it used to be a Fred Meyer at one point, and I would much rather shop at Fred Meyer than Walmart personally. Yeah. But yeah, I'm so conflicted about it, but to be fair to my shopping this year for the holidays has been Amazon and Etsy. So at least with Etsy, I'm supporting like small creators, small business, which I feel pretty good about.
And really all, you know, we can do at this point, apart from voting the right people into office to make sure that these companies are properly regulated and are not allowed to get away with the crap that they've been doing, is also just to make sure, you know, if you've read, like last week Tonight, for instance, had an episode where they talked about the warehouses and the Amazon warehouses and you know, a lot of the things that they have to go through, like they have 10-minute breaks, but you know, when your break starts, it doesn't matter if you're on the other side of the building. If it takes you 5 minutes to get to the break room, that's 5 minutes in your break.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you have to go to the bathroom and you're on the other side of the building and you have to go to the bathroom, that you're not hitting your quota, and, you know, it's just ridiculous. People are getting hurt. I believe the Amazon Center here in Troutdale, Oregon, which is close to here, is, I believe, one of the worst in the country.
Yeah, they're continually trying to hire people, too. I see ads all the time for workers. And
Yeah, I mean, the money is okay, but again, if they're essentially treating you like slave labor, is it worth it? And really, all we can do is just, if it is a busy time of year like this, be cognizant of where your money's going. If you can find a different way to make a purchase with purchasing with a business that actually treats their workers better this time of year, it's that's going to be the wise thing to do. But again, a lot of people are trapped just because of economics. You really have no other choice.
Plus, also be extra nice to people you come in contact with when you're, going to the store, going to the gas station, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Just, because the people who work retail this time of year, it's terrible. I've worked retail this time of year. It's not fun. It's really stressful. It's really not a good time. So just, maybe tip a little extra to your server if you're eating out. Just be kind. Be a little extra kind, even if you're stressed out too. It doesn't take much to smile at someone and say thank you very much.
Yes, it is. No, I'm kidding.
Maybe for you, Mr. Misanthrope. But...
Yeah. All right. Well, the trailer for the new Bond movie hit this week.
Right on. I haven't watched it.
Yeah, I saw it. The Bond trailers have never really been big for me. I mean, there's you watch them, you get excited, but it's just excited that Bond is back more than anything.
Yeah,
there's really nothing that really sticks out.
The movies, they're pretty formulaic in a way.
They are, and that's not necessarily
a bad thing because you know what you're getting into. If you go to see a James Bond movie, you know what you're going to see. And that's why you're going, because that's what you want to see.
Exactly. And one aspect, really from day one of these movies, that makes them stick out is the theme songs.
Yes, the theme songs are generally good, and they've also had a lot of rather famous bands doing theme songs. I think one of my favorites was you're going to laugh, the Duran Duran one.
A View to a Kill?
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that one a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to go through my list here of my 5 favorites, but, that's the beauty of this, just because I am not a fan of that does not make it a bad choice.
Well, I just love Duran Duran, so, I don't know. I liked it. I thought it was a pretty good theme song, and I know a lot of people don't like that movie, A View to a Kill, but I liked it.
Well, the thing with the Roger Moore movies, the later ones, and Moonraker was the biggest example of this, is that they at times tried to tackle stories that the technology at the time couldn't exactly. Yeah. You couldn't exactly make good. I mean, because if you watch Moonraker, for instance, it looks hokey as hell.
It does.
Bond in space because you got to even compare Moonraker to movies that came out at the time, and Moonraker still looks like crap, compared to something like Star Wars. And Moonraker, Bond was in space because of Star Wars. They wanted to take advantage of that, but again, the theme songs are one way that kind of... It's kind of a gift wrap of the movie, and the best Bond movies really have the best theme songs, and the best theme songs in this too are ones that can stand alone, in my opinion, as just plain old good songs. So I just wanted to go through my top 5 here and get some of your thoughts on it as well.
Okay. All
right, so we'll go 5 through 1 here, but this is honestly, it's no particular order. It's because my tastes change all the time. But number 5, from the movie The Spy Who Loved Me, the singer was Carly Simon. This is, in my opinion, one of the most sexy songs ever made. Nobody does it better.
Yeah, that's a good one. It really kind of sums up the whole, 60s Bond kind of thing.
Yeah, well, it's actually late 70s.
It still kind of sums the whole Bond franchise up to that point. He's so suave, he's so debonair, nobody does it better.
But the song itself,
it is a good song.
Like Tom York calls it, the sexiest song alive as well, because just imagine your partner singing this to you. you know, and just if they have a good singing voice. If they don't, then don't imagine that. But you know, it's just the lyrics of the song is just you know, it's great. I love the song, and you know, the movie itself is great. It has the best opening of any Bond movie ever. That's the one where he's skiing down a mountain.
Oh,
the mountain
yeah,
comes
yeah,
to an
that
end.
one.
He jumps off, kicks off his skis, and then the parachute is the Union Jack, and that's
a good one.
I mean, Roger Moore had this great way of no selling the most ridiculous things that occurred to him.
Yeah.
It's just like, damn right, it's cool.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right. My next one is number 4. Comes from the first Bond movie I ever saw in theaters.
Okay.
Tomorrow Never Dies from Sheryl Crow.
Was this a Pierce Brosnan one?
Yep. The second Pierce Brosnan movie. Jonathan Pryce was the bad guy in the film. He was a media baron.
That's a common theme.
Elliot Carver, that was looking to, manipulate China and England into getting into a war.
That's right. I remember this one now, yeah.
Yeah, this was Michelle Yeoh's first American film, I believe.
Oh, I love Michelle Yeoh.
She's amazing. I mean, there was talk after that movie that they were going to have a spin-off with her character, and I am so sad that they did not do that.
Oh, they should have done that.
Yeah.
She's amazing. Yeah, I love her, and everything she's ever been in, I've loved her, because she was in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. She was recently in, oh gosh, what?
Last Christmas.
Was she in that?
She was in it.
I should go see that.
She was also in Star Trek Discovery.
That's right, and she was in, oh gosh, the Crazy Rich Asians.
Okay.
She was in that, and she was really good. The Ice Queen mom. Oh. Yeah.
This film, I mean, again, has another great opening sequence. There's a terrorist bazaar going on, and all these bad guys are buying weapons. And
wait, like a Christmas bazaar, but for terrorists?
Pretty much, yeah. And then Bond discovers that there's a plane with nuclear weapons on there.
Oh, I'm just picturing like a Christmas bazaar. Like, here, would you like this ornament and this stocking? And I got a flamethrower in the back. Sorry.
Well, maybe in Alabama. I don't know. But, it's Bond discovers a plane with nuclear weapons, gets on that plane, after, single-handedly taking out all of the terrorists. He gets on that plane, flies off a mountain. There's another plane that's chasing him. In the plane he was in, he knocked out the original pilot, but the pilot woke up, started choking him. But then there was a scene where, like, the plane that was chasing him somehow ends up right above him, and then Bond hits the eject button on the back seat and goes, "Backseat driver." And just Pierce had a great way of delivering those corny one-liners.
Yeah.
It's similar to Roger Moore. That just made it cool.
He was a good Bond.
He was. He didn't have. I am sad in a way with his work, because I don't think he was given the best material throughout. I think Tomorrow Never Dies was probably his best. All right, the next one, not my favorite Bond movie. It's another Pierce Brosnan one, but this song, wow, really, really good song. And it was the movie that came after Tomorrow Never Dies. It's The World Is Not Enough, sung by Garbage.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
I mean, Shirley Bassey. This song is definitely a throwback to Shirley Manson. Sorry, this is definitely a throwback to those +60s Bonds.
Well, I love Garbage anyway, so
yeah. I mean, just the world is not enough. And I'm a horrible singer, but just if you get a chance, definitely check that song out. Very underrated, and I think the fact that film. That was the one that had Denise Richards as Dr. Christmas and
that's
scientist.
Right. Dr. Christmas.
Just so Pierce Brosnan could come up with the line, "I thought Christmas only came once a year."
Oh.
Yeah.
Dr. Christmas. That sounds like something out of a horror movie or something, Dr. Christmas is coming to stuff your stocking with medicines and bad things and cough syrup and yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. overall, and that was a wasted opportunity as well because Robert Carlyle was the main bad guy. He had his character had like a bullet in the head, but that bullet didn't kill him. But what it did was stopped him from feeling physical pain.
Robert Carlyle is just he's not well used enough. He's not used enough.
No, I mean the first thing I ever saw him in, like most people in America, was the Full Monty.
Full Monty or Trainspotting?
Never saw Trainspotting.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I saw was that scene where Ewan McGregor crawls into a toilet and
Yeah.
Oh, wait, there was that one funny scene in Trainspotting that I did see too. My friend Chris in Grand Rapids liked this movie where a guy wakes up at his girlfriend's house, realizes he's shit the bed. And collects the sheets, but goes out
and then the girl's mom is
I'll take the sheets.
And he's like, no, and breakfast was interrupted poorly.
A little bit, yeah. Right. Number 2 is a song from the movie Casino Royale, Daniel Craig's first outing as Bond, and that's "You Know My Name" from Chris Cornell.
I don't recall how this one goes. But I liked that movie a lot.
Oh, I loved that movie as well.
That was a really good Bond movie.
It was probably the closest adaptation of an Ian Fleming Bond book ever made.
Yeah, it was quite good.
That, and then just how they waited until the very last line, Mr. White, yes, gunshot, and Mr. White's crawling on the ground with a gunshot wound, and then the music starts playing, Bond comes up, and then the name's Bond. James Bond, and then the music hits, and I'm freaking out like a schoolgirl and all that. It was great, but the song that opened it was just really kick ass. I mean, a different vibe than previous Bond songs. A lot, this is an actual rock song, not what they've done in the past with like Paul McCartney with "Live and Let Die," to where it had rock elements, but was still rooted in the typical type of Bond sound. This was, you could imagine this on any Chris Cornell album. And whatnot, but really, really good song.
I believe you.
Yep. And number 1 on my list, I think it's going to be number 1 on most Bond fans' lists as the best theme song. You can't go wrong with Goldfinger.
Goldfinger. It's not coming to mind.
Goldfinger. He's the man.
Who sang
it? Shirley Bassey.
That's right. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. Just the fact that she the lyrics are ridiculous, but they are. I mean, if you just...
They are ridiculous.
I mean, if you just read the lyrics, they're nonsense. But she sang her ass off on that song. She also did Diamonds Are Forever as well. Underrated singer. You don't hear much about her these days, but Goldfinger, damn.
Okay, I agree with you.
Yep. All right.
Alrighty, so, it's that time of year where it's cold outside. Baby, it is cold outside, but...
Nipply.
What I like to do when it's cold outside is I like to burrow into the blankets with a book. And so, I've been rereading the Clan of the Cave Bear series, of all things.
Okay.
I, checked out the first book from the library. Get this, the book came out in 1980. And I still reread it. I remember reading it when I was when I was pretty young, probably in the early 80s. Because the book, it's a pretty big book. All the books in the Clan of the Cave Bear series are big books.
Right.
Which is why I'm glad I have the whole series on Kindle. Another benefit to the Kindle is you don't have 6 gigantic books
that you have to drag around.
Yeah. Exactly. So I've been rereading that series, and I can't say enough good things about it. Sometimes it's a little hokey, a little bit of prehistoric porn, but for the most part, it's really interesting to imagine what it might have been to be living in prehistoric times.
Well, I mean, did they have cars that they moved with their feet?
There were no cars. This isn't the Flintstones.
Okay.
There were no cars. They are basically trying, beginning the domestication of animals, and just, have you ever read any of these books?
No.
Really?
Nope.
Huh.
I mean, you got to remember my taste. I mean, the only real, as a kid, I loved the L. Frank Baum Wizard of Oz books. the occasional comic book I can get my hands on, but from early on I was reading stuff like Tom Clancy. So it wasn't my cup of tea, but I do remember bits and pieces of the old Daryl Hannah movie.
Yeah, that movie wasn't a very good adaptation of the books.
Imagine that in the 80s.
I know, imagine that. Yeah, most film adaptations of books aren't great.
And I think at that time, too, it was more of a vehicle to get Daryl Hannah in skimpy clothing than anything else.
Probably, but yeah, that's probably what it was. But, yeah, the movie's kind of garbage, so don't even bother with that. But the books are really good. I've enjoyed them thoroughly.
What have you liked about
What?
What have you liked about them?
I like the fact that it's a strong female character. The main character is a woman. Her name's Ayla. She's strong. She's smart. She gets shit done.
Damn right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She innovates. She's brave. She's courageous. She's great. She's a great role model, and I've noticed also through the years, I've seen quite a few women with the name Ayla, younger kids, when I've been filling prescriptions. So that's what I do.
All right.
I see people named Ayla. I'm like, oh, okay. Mommy read Clan of the Cave Bear. Yeah, she was inspired. Which is, it's both good and bad to name your child after a comic or a character in a book, because I've had friends who've named their children some really not great things.
I named my son Luke, so
yeah,
I'm not one to talk.
You didn't name your kid Anakin.
No, I didn't.
I worked with somebody who named their child Anakin.
Oof.
I've seen some shit, people.
I've seen some shit.
I've seen some shit. I knew somebody back when I played EverQuest who named their children after some of the characters in the Dungeons and Dragons books, like Raceland. I don't know if you ever read any of those books, the Forgotten Realms books. But yeah, I've seen a few like that. I've known quite a few people who have named their kids after book characters, which I just am like, yeah, kind of about. But yeah, books are good. Read books. It's cold. Don't go outside. Stay in.
Yeah, I mean, and eat good food. Not vegan. I don't know. Vegan looks like cardboard food. Ugh.
Yeah. I don't know. This time of year, I don't know. A lot of the food I feel like I've been eating lately involves bread and melted cheese.
Yeah, I mean, we just came back from a restaurant and had bread and melted cheese and lots of meat. That was good.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, no starch coma this week.
Yeah, that's true. I have been laying off the carbs because boy, oh boy, Thanksgiving, I had to work Thanksgiving Day, and so we went to my mom's, had dinner, and I was thinking I'd go to my dad's and have dessert. I was like, no, I'm going home and having a nap because I'm going to have to try and go to work for 10 hours tonight. And
yeah. And me, I was already up for 24 hours when that dinner happened.
Yeah, you'd been working.
And then I ended up coming home, not able to sleep, and that's when I recorded, last week's episode.
While I was at work, that's when you recorded that episode?
Yeah. So, that was another sleep-deprived masterpiece, but... Anyway, Billie Eilish, have you heard of her?
Sort of. I couldn't name a song.
Yeah,
but I know she's a young singer.
I'm in the same boat. She's a 17-year-old singer, popular with the kids today. She's not making songs for a 43-year-old white guy, so, meh, whatever. But
who really is, though?
Not many people. But she had, on social media at least, a little bit of a brouhaha. She was recently on Jimmy Kimmel Live, and Jimmy was asking her questions about music artists from when he was 17. And he started asking her, name this band Run DM, and then tried to have her finish it off. She couldn't name it off. She couldn't finish Run DMC. And what had got people's knickers in a bunch was the fact that she didn't know who Van Halen was.
Well, when did Van Halen start?
In the 70s.
Yeah, she's 17. She was born in the 90s, right?
Yeah. And I mean, at the depending what is do math. So when was she born? If she's 17 in 1920,
So no, she was born in
2009, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. She was born in 2002. So Van Halen was already past. The 2002 was right around the time that Sammy Hagar temporarily rejoined the band with their greatest hits album.
Yeah.
And so they were well beyond any form of
relevance.
Of relevance. Yeah. Well, that's not necessarily a bad thing. There are a lot of, like, the Rolling Stones are not relevant anymore, but they are still popular. If they go out and tour, it's sold out everywhere they go. If they release an album, you're going to get a lot of people buying it. But people aren't talking about the latest Rolling Stones album, just like they're not talking about the latest Van Halen album.
Well, they shouldn't be getting mad at her. They should get mad at her parents for not giving her a rock and roll education.
Not even and you're joking on that.
I know. I'm joking.
The point is, I mean, I gave this example earlier when we were coming up with a format for the show today. If we think back to when we were a similar age in the 80s, early 90s, it would be akin to us getting shit for not knowing who the Big Bopper was.
Yeah, although the movie La Bamba should have solved that problem for most of us.
But again, we may have known the name, but how many 17-year-olds in the late 80s, early 90s are going to be digging to Richie Valens?
Or if you want to pull it back even further, like, who's going to know who the Andrews sisters were?
Exactly.
Or maybe even Frank Sinatra, stuff like that.
Yeah, the fact is, people don't want to admit it because they get locked into a mindset that music is somehow timeless, that rock and roll will live forever. No, it will not. Music changes. That's the beauty of it. What was considered rock and roll in the 50s would probably be considered country today.
Just almost, yeah.
Because a lot of it was early country influence. What really was the basis of rock and roll was blues, R&B, soul type of stuff. But even then, that's the basic building blocks of what became the music today. I mean, stuff like Black Sabbath, for instance. They're a blues band. They just played it louder, fast. You may laugh, but they were formed because of the blues, but they took it into a different direction, and then bands that came after them took the Black Sabbath influence and made it into something completely different.
And that's why they're influences.
Exactly.
It gives you an idea, then you take it in your own direction.
And that's the beauty of music and art in general. I mean, because if everybody... I mean, one thing about the copyright laws in this country, for instance, that the copyright laws in this country are a joke because they've essentially been hijacked by big business, namely Disney, for purely monetary reasons. Since Disney owns Marvel, I'll bring up this example: Spider-Man. Under the old copyright laws, Spider-Man should have already been in the public domain by now.
Yeah.
And with that, Marvel would not have to worry about talking to Sony about having Spider-Man in their movies. They both would be able to make Spider-Man movies, and everybody would be happy, blah, blah, blah. But because these companies have, changed the laws to where I believe it's like a copyright is like 95 years now?
Really?
Yeah, it's just an obscene long time. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of times you have. I mean, you're getting into a spot to where people. It's forcing it to where stuff's not going to change really. Because the best part of, like, Batman, for instance, Batman was essentially Zorro, but added elements to it that made it more popular for the contemporary story at the time. And it's similar to music as well. I mean, what was popular in the 70s, not popular now. Doesn't make it bad, but it stuff changes.
Yep.
And that's the beauty of it. And why anybody would be mad at a 17-year-old girl for not knowing a 70s rock band is beyond me.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. Besides the fact that unless you're like a music historian, no one person, especially someone who's pretty young, is going to know everything about music. I mean, seriously.
And if she's also a pop artist,
Yeah.
do you think she's really going to care about, running with the devil?
Well, yeah, but I mean, besides the fact, more than likely, what's going to happen as she gets older, she's going to hear things and just explore on her own. That's pretty much how everybody develops their music taste. Is their friends hand them something, say, "Hey, listen to this, you might like it," and it just develops naturally. Yeah,
Exactly. So
it's just mean. Why do people gotta be mean?
Because, well, I mean, I think the big thing is that people are realizing that, the people that are most vocal about this are the ones that are upset that they're getting old.
Yeah, that's true too.
I mean, that's really, like, how could you not know that? Come on, shut up.
It is what it is.
It's relevant to you because it was relevant when you were her age.
Yeah.
And because if you think about it, most art that people enjoy, most entertainment that people enjoy really stems from the high school to college range.
And that's true. I mean, we've noticed that in ourselves as we've been doing this podcast series with these albums. I mean, all the ones I've been choosing, I know that have influenced my taste in music. It's all been from when I was like high school to college age. Mm-hmm. All before the age of 25.
Except for my choice this week.
Yeah, except for your choice this week. Yeah, that's true.
This one, I kind of went out of the box because I know Kim had mentioned, that she was curious as to why she had not thought of a female musician to profile yet.
Yeah, and that's mostly because that's just not what my friends and I were listening to at the time. It's just all the stuff we were listening to. We were listening to a bunch of sensitive men. From England.
Or whiny men.
Yeah, that's one way to interpret it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's odd that my taste in general has been music made by men, but a lot of it has been very sensitive and emotional music. So
yeah, and
it's just it's interesting to watch, to see how people's taste in music develops, and I know it'll be interesting to see how like my nephew's taste in music develops.
Mm-hmm. Well, for what I tried to do this week was kind of branch out. Now, for my day job, luckily I'm able to bring my own music to work and listen to it. Thank God, especially this time of year.
Yeah. It's
Christmas,
the holiday season.
Unless it's the Mr. Hanky Christmas Classics, I'm not listening to holiday music because my aunt, I love her dearly. My Aunt Sharon, she lives in a town called Christmas, Michigan, in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and she owns a store called Santa's Workshop that has a big 50-foot Santa outside the store.
Oh my goodness!
So,
it's Christmas 24/7, huh?
Growing up, you kind of overdosed on the holidays with her. Now, I'm not insulting my aunt, but let me make that clear. If my aunt were here and wanted me to have Christmas with her and the family, I would do it. I would be grumpy. I'd arms folded and pissed off face and whatnot. But it's my aunt. Come on.
Yeah.
But anyway, what I do at work is put together a playlist of my favorite songs. But sometimes I try to go out of the box and pick some songs from artists that I may not have heard of or stuff that I haven't listened to in a while. And there was one song I came across by this band I never heard of called Tijuana Sweetheart.
Yeah, and that led to your remark a couple weeks ago about trashy women.
Yeah, that went over well.
Yeah, we discussed it, and by trashy, Tim actually meant naughty.
Yeah, I
explained to him that the word trash means garbage, so when you say trashy women, you mean garbage women.
Yeah, and I did not mean that at all. I mean,
and he didn't. It's not what he really meant.
Not at all. I mean, it's just if you see the cover of the album that we're going to review this week, Under the Gun. The women on the cover here are, they're not going to be knocking on your door, wanting to tell you about the Watchtower. Let's put it that way. And
although if they did, they would probably be talking about like some kind of band called the Watchtower or something like that.
Something like that. They're not going to preach to Jesus. They're just four hot chicks. Like knee-high socks, and I loved it. But But anyway, just they had a song that we'll discuss here in the album that just really blew me away. Really, really good song. The band was actually formed by employees of the video game company Harmonix, who created Guitar Hero.
No, Harmonix created Rock Band.
I think they did Guitar Hero as well.
Did they?
Yeah. One of the music in one of the songs on here is actually featured on Rock Band, so it could have been that as well, whatever. But it's a video game company that made music video games. They came together, but the lead singer put out a company-wide email stating, "I want to form a band," and they all came together and formed Tijuana Sweetheart. They went by a previous name, but they had to change it due to legal reasons to Tijuana Sweetheart. But I thought we would discuss their last album that was released in 2012 called Under the Gun. Before we begin going track by track with the review, what were your overall thoughts?
Overall thoughts, it had a very, it's a kind of almost like pop punk kind of sound, very Southern California. Mm-hmm. When it comes to like sort of alternative rock, it's very much, you can hear regional differences if you've listened to enough of it.
Yeah.
And this one definitely had the SoCal vibe. Believe
it or not, they're from Massachusetts.
Really? Mm-hmm. Harmonix is in San Diego, I thought.
But this band, they were from Massachusetts. So.
Huh.
Yeah.
Because they got a SoCal sound, so I was listening to them assuming they were from Southern California.
Nope, Massachusetts.
Yeah, they reminded me a lot of L7 and the Donnas. Have you ever listened to the Donnas?
Some. It's been a long time since I have. I actually, they have a lot of different influences. I heard some Go-Go's. I heard some Bangles. Two great bands. Like I heard even some Motorhead influence, Ramones, of course.
Yeah.
But just overall, really, really good. Just one of those. This is the perfect type of album that if you're taking a long drive and just want something upbeat to keep you energized through a long drive, this is something you put on.
Yeah, I would say that. I think this is more of an album that I would. I had a hard time listening to it all in one sitting because the songs started to run together a bit. They all had a very, very similar sound. I think this would be one of those. I've made these compilation tracks playlists before, back before I had access to listening to music on my iPhone in my car. I had a 6-disc CD player in there.
Kids today are like, what is that?
Yeah, basically it was a cartridge in the trunk that I'd load 6 CDs into. Yeah. I'd burn my own mix CDs on my computer, and I made a 6-disc series. It's a lot of music. It was like Women Who Kick Ass, basically. Right. And this album would have definitely gone on that.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right, so let's go through it.
Okay.
All right, so the first track, Fallout. What were your thoughts?
It was okay. I didn't write any notes on it, so obviously I didn't have much to say about it. Okay. Like I said, I pretty much like all the songs on the album. Just some songs stood out more than others, and this was not one of the ones that stood out.
For me, I dug it. I loved the guitar that opened up the song, and it did have some Judas Priest influence that I liked. What I could picture this being, I haven't seen them in concert. Not in they disbanded in 2012 anyway, but I could see this being the perfect song to open a concert. Just because it has that vibe of of getting the audience up and running and just cheering. Because I think of 2 songs, one from Cheap Trick called Hello. I think it's called Hello There, because it's really hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Hello there, ladies and gents. Are you ready to rock?
Yeah, that's on. That's in the Rock Band games, actually.
Yep. That and Queen, We Will Rock You. Just on the surface, the songs on their own, they're good. but they're not the best in the world, but they're best played with an audience. It's not a song that you necessarily, can just totally enjoy and think it's the greatest song in the world, but by just walking with your ear pods in. But if you're with a crowd of people and this song is going, you're going nuts and enjoying it.
Yeah, I can see that, and I can see how you would use this as an opening song on an album, because it's pretty quick. It starts right up, and then it's good. It's a good for kicking things off.
Exactly. All right, the next song, Sunday.
I like this one a lot. It had kind of a story about in the title, 'cause Sunday, and it was talking about going and drinking with your friends by the river and stuff like that. And I'm just like, oh yeah, I could see totally doing that on a Sunday, just kicking it with your buddies, and I liked it. I liked that there was a story there.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it did have, as you mentioned, kind of the 90s pop punk feel. It felt kind of like if Green Day and the Breeders had a baby. The Breeders did that song Cannonball.
Oh God, I love that song.
I love that song too, but just that kind of polished punk.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that, definitely. I would agree with you with that.
So definitely like that. And then also too, it did have just the lead singer, Hellion, that's her stage name. She has this, her vocals are great. I mean, because sometimes it will be the raw, just in your face, fuck you type of attitude, but then she will just have these melodies in her vocals that just kick ass. So I definitely love that as well. The next track, Dragging My Heels.
I didn't really care for this one so much. It just kind of, I don't know. I didn't make any notes on it, which generally means I didn't have anything positive to say. Okay. And I'm dragging my heels about it.
Pun.
I know.
Yeah. It had a kind of a Motorhead type of influence, at least at the opening of the song for me. I'm with you on that. Not my absolute favorite track off the album, but is what it is. I mean,
it's not bad, but it's not great either. It's just
it didn't stand out. But the beauty of this album is that, like a typical punk up, you're not gonna get a 40-minute drum solo. You're not gonna get a 20-minute guitar solo. These are just bite-sized, kick-ass songs that if you come across one that doesn't suit your fancy, there's another one coming that you
probably will like.
Exactly. The next one I didn't care for at all. You
didn't like Heathcliff?
No.
It is a cartoon theme song.
I know. It's a low-rent Garfield.
I know. As soon as they started in with the theme, I'm like, why does this sound so familiar? And then I was like, oh wait, it's the Heathcliff theme song on those Saturday morning cartoons. I kind of dug it. I like it when bands do covers of TV, like when punk bands do covers of TV theme songs. They make me smile.
Yeah, there was an album in the 90s called Saturday Morning's Cartoons Greatest Hits, and one of my absolute favorite Ramones songs comes from that album, where they covered Spider-Man. Yeah. Really, like I said before, I created a change.org petition to have that song put into the next Spider-Man movie. Hopefully it is. But I could tell that this is the vibe that they were going, and it just didn't click for me.
Yeah, I kind of dug it, but any of the cat cartoons from the 80s, when I was a kid, I liked all of them. So Heathcliff, I don't know, I think Heathcliff came way before Garfield, so if anything, Garfield is a low rent Heathcliff.
Well, but you got to remember though, I think Garfield was first on the cartoon. I think Heathcliff may have originated first, but I think Garfield had the bigger
it had the bigger following.
Yeah.
But I just was like, oh my God, why does this sound familiar? And then I was like, wait, I know this. What's the name of it? Because I wasn't looking at the track list when I was listening to it the first time. I'm just like, why does this sound? And I look, I'm like, it's called Heathcliff. Oh, it's the Heathcliff theme song. And it's just like, oh my God. Yeah, I was totally doing that. I had a little girlish, oh my God moment. So I kind of liked it.
All right, the next song, Vanity.
Yeah.
Didn't like it?
No, it's just, it came right after Heathcliff. It wasn't upbeat enough. It It went from, I don't know, it went from Heathcliff to like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
This is another one, kind of like the one I mentioned earlier. This is another song that I could see. Probably you'll get more out of it by seeing it played live with an audience.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, because I mean, I agree. Just listening, just listening to it solo, it didn't click with me. But I could see where they were going with it, and I think this is more of a, build the crowd up and kind of, get them energized type of deal. So, I believe that there is some concert footage of their work on YouTube and whatnot, and it would be interesting to see if this is a song that they played in there, just to see if my theory is proved right. But I think for them, since they did a lot of touring in bars and whatnot, that they did kind of write their songs and create their songs more of a way to kind of get the audience up and running, up and running and whatnot. So, but there's also a riff in the song that it reminds me of a song from the 80s. I swear they took that song, the riff from an 80s song, and I just can't figure out which song it is.
Maybe you'll have to Shazam it.
Yeah, hopefully. All right, the next track, Pistol Whipped.
I like this one a lot. It was real speedy, real fast. Pistol Whipped! I don't know. I liked it. Yeah. I was digging it. I was banging my head and bouncing around and doing the chair dance and
This was in Rock Band 4, and this is my absolute favorite song of
I really enjoyed this song too.
Honey you got pistol
whip.
And to me, this is vicious, dirty, fast paced. I want to see this in an action movie.
Would you call it trashy?
Yeah, you know what? I will say this too. They have one of their first albums was called Trash. Let's see,
Trash Queens or something like that.
Yeah, it was called Trash Candy. So, I would also contend that they may understand where I'm coming from when I use the term trashy.
Well, I kind of, I did understand before, but
yeah.
Not everybody understands what you mean.
I get, and the reason I clarified this week, I just want to, it was not a negative connotation, blah blah blah. But Pistol Whipped, if you're going to listen to any song off this album, it has to be Pistol Whip. Pistol Whip is one hell of a song.
Pistol Whipped, and then Sunday, and then Heathcliff.
Not Heathcliff.
Yes.
All right, the next song, Last Transmission.
I don't know about this one.
The note I had was, I think the fact that it came after Pistol Whipped did it a disservice.
Yeah, because you have to kind of, if you're going to have like a really fast, powerful song like that, you almost have to follow it up with a duplicate of that song in a way.
Yeah. And
you either, I don't know, I think you either have to like keep it up at that high pace or push it way down to like a ballad.
Yeah, it's a different vibe. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's a bad song, but it's like in like in wrestling. I'll use an example there. I mean, when the booker puts a card together, if they try to book every single match as let's do everything possible to make this the greatest match in human history, the audience is going to quickly get burned out. You have to have ebbs and flows.
Yeah, and you have to do that with an album too. If you're going to listen to it all the way through in one sitting, rather than a single track, you have to have ebbs and flows, or else it just doesn't work.
Yeah, so I'm not saying that this is a bad song, but I do think it probably could have been better received if it were had a different track listing. If it wasn't directly after Pistol Whipped.
Yeah.
So, all right, the next song, Eat.
I liked this one. It was very nasty.
Why is that?
It had a lot of cussing, and it was a lot. It's the kind of like, it's like more. It was very much more like thrash kind of punk than the sort of pop punk, because they got the guitars really going. They were like that kind of like vibe, rather than
well, to me, this wasn't punk. This was straight up metal. I mean, this is just
Yeah, I would say, yeah.
I mean, but
It was
punk and metal have a lot of similarities,
they're very
of course.
similar, yeah.
But this is just, you put this on, you crank that volume all the way up, and you're just, you can get whiplash, hurting your head from, banging it so hard. It's really, really, really good song. And this, I would say too, if you probably take this song and Last Transmission and switch their places on the album track, it may have been better.
It would have been better.
Yeah.
I think you're right. When I listened to these all together, I was kind of like, why didn't they switch those? I'm glad you had that thought, because I was having that same thought.
Yep. All right. And the last song on the album, Astro Zombies.
I didn't like this one very much. It just didn't. I don't know. You had those like really strong songs. Now, see if they had. I wish they would have finished it on a stronger note. I didn't think this song was. I don't know. I feel like altogether this album isn't bad, but I wish it would have ended with a bigger punch.
Probably. I mean, maybe. What if they had ended the album with Pistol Whipped?
That would have been good, actually. I think that would have been really good. Or ended it with Eat. Either way, and moved this song up in the.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it had. You could definitely tell the Ramones' influence, because the Ramones.
Oh yeah.
The Ramones loved doing punk versions of old '60s R&B songs.
Oh, I know. Oh gosh, what was the one that they did that I really liked? When they did Needles and Pins.
Needles and Pins, a very good one. I Want to Be Your Boyfriend.
Oh yeah, that was good too.
Yeah, but it had that kind of vibe. And again, the singer Hellion just nailed it with that type of atmosphere. So I liked this song. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to give the impression that I did not like this song. But again, if ending the album with this song. Probably,
I kind of I like it when albums either end on a quiet note or they end with a punch.
Yeah.
And I think bands like this generally don't do ballads, so to speak. So I think they would have been better off ending it with maybe moving this song up a few notches in the list,
track listing,
in the track listing, and ending it with either Pistol Whipped or Eat.
Yep.
Overall, I enjoyed it. Like I said at the beginning, it would have definitely been in a greatest hits women's mix of mine.
Badass rock chicks. It's too bad that this band is no longer together. Now, some of the members have formed a new band that I believe is still currently active, called Petty Morals.
Okay.
You can find both Petty Morals and Tijuana Sweetheart on Spotify. Definitely recommend checking them both out. Just really good, straightforward rock,
Yeah. I enjoyed it overall.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly don't know if I'll go back to it again, because it's not really in my taste right now.
Mm-hmm. It's all Barry Manilow all day for her,
Yeah. This is more.
Copa.
You dork. No, this is more. This is a summer album.
Mm-hmm.
This is a weekend drinking with your buddies, rocking out.
Not a Pacific Northwest winter.
It's not a Pacific Northwest winter album. No, it really isn't. So I could see myself listening to this again once the weather gets back to sunny.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's definitely. It's good, but you gotta have the right vibe for it.
Yeah. Again, Tijuana Sweetheart, great band. It's unfortunate that I discovered them well past the time that they disbanded, but their albums are still out there for the world to enjoy. Yeah. And also, like I said, check out Petty Morals as well. Great artist, and they get it. This like the album cover and the songs themselves, it's like a trauma movie, like the Toxic Avenger. Just they know what they're doing and they just love it, and they're not making Dark Side of the Moon, they're just making an album to kick ass with.
They're making music, having fun.
Yeah, and I have nothing but the absolute respect for that, and I love the album cover. All right. Next week.
I get to choose. It's my turn. So
Barry Manilow, motherfucker. No.
no, but it starts with a B. We're gonna do the Beastie Boys, Paul's Boutique.
All right.
Which is my favorite album of the Beastie Boys catalog.
And then the week after that will be the battle for state supremacy. What we're going to have, it's going to be a special episode, and the whole episode will just be dedicated to our choices. Kim and I are going to be choosing the 10 best songs from musicians that were born in the state that we were respectively born in.
So for me, it'll be Oregon, and for Tim, it'll be Michigan.
Exactly. And then what we will do is kind of go through the track listing, and, again, the whole episode will just be based on our choices. And then what we're going to do is create a specific playlist that will be available to the public on Spotify. And we're going to leave it in your hands. We're going to do our best to kind of advertise this to get some votes, but we're going to leave it up for a vote to see which state has the best music.
This is going to be tough because Michigan has a lot of good stuff. Michigan has Motown. Michigan has Lizzo. Tim doesn't know who Lizzo is.
No, I know who she is. Just I've never heard her music, and I know it's probably not anything. I mean,
well, let me tell you, I've been looking up stuff, and I've been very disappointed to find out that a lot of my favorite bands that I thought they're basically based in Oregon, but the people who are in them are not from Oregon. They haven't been born here, so I'm still researching, and I'm having a hard time.
Well,
I'm having a hard time. Oregon, help me out. Give me some suggestions. At Kim the Geek on Twitter. Please help me. Help me discover the beauty of Oregon. I know so much about Oregon music, but like I said, these people, they're coming from other places and they love it here and they get creative, but they haven't been born here, so I can't use them.
Well, the rules that we're doing as well is because, when I bring up some of my choices, some of the choices I give, and I'm not going to reveal my list now, but I've already told Kim some of them, and they may seem off kilter, like really, but it's the fact that band members, in that band were born in that particular state as well. So even though there's a band that may have an identity with another state, if there's a member in that band that was born in the state that we were born in, then we're gonna choose that as well. But the winner, after the voting, will like this. If I win, for instance, we go to a movie of my choice and Kim will pay, and vice versa. If she wins, then we will go to a movie of her choice where I will pay.
Yep.
And I totally won't go overboard and get a crown and
no belt this time.
Just to have Luke steal it again.
Yeah.
He stole my greatest movie ever championship belt in a non-sanctioned match. The jerk.
He's never going to get over this. You're never going to get over this, are you?
No, it was an unsanctioned match. I won it fair and square. After my superior movie choices defeated everybody else in the tournament. Just to have some punk kid come and, just hit me with a chair and steal that belt. I mean...
Punk kid, he's your kid. He's a punk kid because of you.
Yeah.
He learned it from watching you.
I love that commercial. How stupid it is,
I know.
Because, like most parents...
The drugs We're talking about this PSA from the 80s that was about drugs.
I caught you smoking weed, whereas...
Like, I found this in your room. What are you doing? How did you know about this drugs? I learned it from watching you.
You're right. Let's light up.
If he was a cool dad. But no, the dad gets this look on his face like the kid just smacked him. You're like, what? He knows that I'm doing cocaine? What? He knows about the smack?
Yeah, and they never really talk about which drugs they were using. I mean,
I know.
Like, the guy could have been, like, freebasing cocaine,
It's like, okay, is he smoking weed? Is he doing mushrooms? What's he doing? Then there's the brain on drugs with the egg.
Yeah. I just suddenly, talking about Richard Pryor, and with the freebasing, I thought of Richard Pryor, and there's a joke in Scrooge that just... I saw it for the first time in theaters about a year ago. And I didn't realize this joke would be in there, but Bill Murray's character has an illusion that he thinks a waiter's on fire, and then he throws water on him, but he just turned out that he was just seeing things, and then Bill Murray goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were Richard Pryor." Because Richard Pryor at one point did set himself on fire accidentally from freebasing cocaine.
Yeah.
But just the way he sold it was the funniest line in the movie.
Well, Bill Murray's amazing, so.
He is. I mean, that's another thing too. We're real close to the trailer for the new Ghostbusters movie.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's going to reunite the original cast, the remaining members of the original cast.
Yes, because Harold Ramis passed away, unfortunately.
Sadly. I wasn't a fan of the 2016 Ghostbusters as a standalone movie. I thought it was uneven. I thought for this type of movie, the improv that Paul Feig, the actor, and the actresses involved love to do did not work. But that does not mean that the cast was wrong. I think that there were some elements that could have been improved, and what I would love to see is some way for this new movie to give a nod to what they did. Because it did get a lot of unnecessary shit thrown its way.
It did get a lot of unnecessary shit. I personally enjoyed it, but that's because I really like all of the actresses involved.
Yeah. To me, I couldn't sit through it all. It just... But it again, it boils down to the direction of the movie. A lot of it was just, you could tell that the director was just excited, like, go with it, and just letting them just improv, and I don't like that in general. Mm-hmm. If you watch the original Ghostbusters, there may have been some improv moments, but you would never know, because the script was so tight and concise.
Well, and that's because, didn't Harold Ramis write it?
He rewrote it. Dan Aykroyd was notorious, like with the Blues Brothers, he wrote what was described as a phone book size script, mm-hmm. That John Landis had to make into a suitable film. So Dan Aykroyd, I guess, as a writer, is a lot like me and just throwing everything at the wall, because the original Ghostbusters that John Belushi was supposed to star in, like the whole Stay Puft Marshmallow Man was mm-hmm. like in one of the first scenes in the film. Oh. And, it was just totally a total different movie compared to what we saw on the screen, but it'd definitely be great to kind of see the band back together one more time. Yep. I just hope that they do find a way to kind of give a nod to what the ladies did in 2016, because though I have no problem stating it was not my favorite movie of all time, they deserve something, for the shit that they had to go through, especially Leslie Jones.
Oh God, yeah, that was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Anyway. So we'll be back next week.
Talking
about the Beastie Boys, Paul's Boutique.
Yeah, with that, we will see you then. And remember,
it's such a good feeling to know you're alive. It's such a happy feeling. You're growing inside, and when you wake up ready to say, I think I'll make a snappy new day. It's such a good feeling, a very good feeling. The feeling that I'll be back when the day is new. And I'll have more ideas for you. And you'll have things you'll want to talk about. I will too. You always make each day such a special day. You know how? By just your being you. Only one person in the whole world like you. That's you yourself. I'll be back next time. Bye-bye.
Subscribe to Friends Talking Nerdy on iTunes, the Google Play Music Store, as well as Spotify. Remember to support Friends Talking Nerdy on Patreon. Goodbye, darling.